Hey, what's up guys? Alright, so before I get into the review for Eden Zero Chapter 183, I do want to mention that earlier today, or yesterday depending on what time this video goes up, Hero actually put out on his Twitter account that he completed work on his free-to-play game that he's been working on for I want to say about a year, maybe a year and a half now, by himself. It's free to play, it's online, you can download it, he's encouraging people to go and play it. Now, as far as I'm aware, the game is only available in Japan, but if you have a VPN like Surfshark, this is not a sponsored video for them or anything like that, but if you have a VPN like them, then you can change your location to Japan, and if you're able to find the app or the game, then you can download it and play it. Now, I really only recommend that if you can read Japanese, because as far as I'm aware, the game is only going to be in Japanese. There's not going to be an English translation for it as far as I'm aware of right now, but if you can read Japanese, or if you just don't care about the dialogue and just want to play the game in order to support Hiro Mashima, then I told you what you can do. Basically, go get a VPN, change your location to Japan, and download the game. And I gotta say, I'm actually impressed with Hiro Mashima for doing this by himself, because not only is the guy doing this, but he is in charge of writing 3 different manga series right now, which 2 of them I believe he's doing the art for. He, I believe, did the character design and wrote the story for the app game that one of his manga is actually connected to. He's constantly cranking out new illustrations for us fans on Twitter and posting them up, and on top of that, I believe he's also teaching himself English. So, like, seriously, at this point, this guy is literally the definition of a hard worker, and anytime I hear about a new project or new thing he's getting involved into, it just kind of inspires me to put more effort into whatever I'm currently doing. But anyway guys, like I said, if you can read Japanese and you want to support Hiro Mashima in any way you can, go download that free-to-play game, which, by the way, I forgot to mention, the game's actually connected in some way, shape, or form to Eden Zero, because from what I could tell from the screenshots he's posted on Twitter, the main character you play as in the game is actually Rebecca. Now, I'm not exactly sure what the story is and if it actually has connection to the actual story of Eden Zero itself, but from what I can tell, it looks like you're playing as Rebecca and you're hunting down different versions of Rebecca. I don't know, it's kind of weird. I'm not exactly sure what's going on in it because I can't read the actual dialogue for it, but like I said, if you want to play the game and if you want to support Hiro Mashima, go download it. Anyway, finally getting into the chapter, it actually opens up with the team making their way onto Lindard and basically bobbing and weaving some AA guns trying to stop them from actually landing on the planet. And while they're actually doing that, we actually have Hermit breaking down the plan, which apparently they're going with their original plan of breaking up into 2 separate teams, with Shiki, Hermit, Wise, Pino, Happy, Rebecca, and Elsie going to the planet's core, while the rest of them go and take on Dead and Crow. Which surprised me when I read that part in the chapter, because I figured that once they found out in the last chapter, or was it the last chapter or the chapter before that? Either one, when they found out that Agnolia was involved in this fight and teaming up with Ziggy, I figured that meant they would change their plans to break up into 3 separate teams. 1 team to take down Dead and Crow, 1 team to take down Agnolia, and 1 team to go to the core of the planet and possibly take on Ziggy. And honestly, the only reason I could think of as to why they would go with their original plan instead of breaking into 3 separate teams is that maybe they think that Agnolia and Ziggy both would be at the core of the planet defending it, so they can actually have a 2v2 with Elsie and Shiki taking them both on, with Hermit, Wise, and Rebecca, or not Hermit, with Homura, Wise, and Rebecca there as their backup. And I mean, I guess if they're wrong, that's not the worst case scenario for them, because then if it's only Ziggy or Agnolia there, then they have the 5 of them to go up against the 1 person, or if neither one of them are there, then they basically have the core to themselves to continue on with their plan. But that also means that if 1 or both of them aren't there at the core of the planet, then the other team, the Dead and Crow team, has to deal with all 3 of them, or at the very least 2 of them. And then we move on to a conversation between Hermit and Holly, where we actually get to see Hermit offering Holly to use one of their night gears, that Gundam suit that basically Homer was using in the last chapter, in order to personally fight against Dead and Crow. And at first Holly's wondering why she would trust her with something that important, and Hermit answers back by saying that Shiki told them to treat her like she's part of the crew, which is kind of in keeping with Shiki's character. It's not the smartest idea for him to do that, since they don't know if they can actually trust Holly, and everything we've seen from her off screen, out of their peer view, has told us that they can't trust her. But that actually is in keeping with Shiki's character, that he's overly trusting, so of course he would actually, tell them to do this. And we also get this kind of nice moment between the 2 of them where Hermit tells Holly that she did a background check on her, and she knows exactly what happened to her in the past and what her connection to Dead and Crow is. And she tells her that basically, again, kind of mirroring what Hermit went through not that long ago, well, in the universe it was over 3 years ago, but still not that long ago for us in the story. But basically she tells her that the only way to get over past traumas is to face them head on yourself. Again, kind of mirroring what happened to her back when she had to face her past trauma with the doctor. Anyway, while the teams are making their way onto the planet, Rebecca again thinks about the fact that she caused the chronophage to go to those 2 planets that she's been to in the past, and she gets distracted and ends up getting hit out of the air by one of the AA guns. So Shiki has to bail out of his ship in order to save her, and the two of them actually end up crashing down onto the planet away from everyone else. Shiki tells everyone to basically meet up at a rendezvous point in order to continue with their mission, but they end up finding out in this moment that Elsie decided to go off on her own mission. Now, Shiki tells them not to worry about her, but what we end up finding out is that Elsie decided to go off on her own in order to fight against Ziggy by herself. And we end up finding out that the reason why she did this, and I personally thought that Elsie was being very stupid in this moment, but the reason why she did this is because she feels that since she has a personal connection with Ziggy, that she should be the one to take him down. Which, I mean, yeah, she does have a personal connection to Ziggy, so that does justify her being involved in the fight to take him down. But she's seemingly ignoring the fact that Shiki also has a personal connection to Ziggy because Ziggy's his grandfather and raised him for the first few years of his life. So honestly, her whole reasoning for why she has to be the one to take down Ziggy doesn't really make sense to me in this chapter. Now, what we end up finding out later on in the chapter is that apparently Lindard is actually the home planet that Elsie comes from. And we end up finding that out in two separate ways. For one, Ziggy at the end of the chapter, when the two of them actually meet up face to face, confirms that Lindard actually is Elsie's home planet. But on top of that, before they actually meet, we see Elsie actually go to a palace, and we see that in front of the palace there's actually this fountain where she actually has a memory of her and Justice actually sitting at and basically flirting with each other when they were kids. And you know what? It's actually really cool that we're finding out in this chapter that Lindard is actually Elsie's home planet, which, by the way, I mentioned in the beginning of the time skip that at some point, because we were in the Coyote Cosmos, that we would be going to Elsie and Justice's home planet. So we're here now, which means more than likely we're actually going to end up seeing Justice later on in the arc. But now that we know that Lindard actually is Elsie's home planet, I feel like that's a much better reason for Elsie to justify why she has to be the one to take down Ziggy, because he's perverting her planet that she lost all those years ago, not her personal connection to him, because again, Shiki has a much stronger personal connection to Ziggy than Elsie does, which justifies him being the one to take him down more than it does her. But anyway, that's just me, that's just my personal opinion on the matter. Anyway, like I said, we get to the end of the chapter, we see Elsie making her way to the palace that I guess she grew up in because she was a princess of the planet, and we end up getting her full backstory where we end up finding out that apparently Lindard was, again, back when she was on there as a princess, a weapon manufacturing planet, kind of like how it is right now, currently in the present day. And apparently we find out that the reason why she ended up causing that war that basically destroyed the planet and killed their entire civilization is because of the fact that her parents, the king and queen, were in charge of basically manufacturing the weapons, selling them off, and they were basically enslaving people in order to do it. Now, she wanted to stop that, and she thought that basically by outing them, this would kind of just cause them to change their ways, but instead actually ended up causing a war, which we kind of already know the results of. And then we get to the end of the chapter where Elsie and Ziggy are getting ready to face off against each other, and where Ziggy's saying that Elsie will be the first one sacrificed in their plan. Now, he already mentioned the last time the two of them met that the next time they met, one of them will end up dying, which leads me to again believe that Elsie will end up dying in this arc. Now, here's the thing, because of the fact that we now know that Lindard is actually Elsie's home planet, and because more than likely Elsie is going to end up dying in this arc, I believe that this means that Justice will end up showing up at some point before the fight between her and Ziggy is over, and it's going to be a three-way fight or the two of them fight off against them by themselves, which will most likely result in the two of them both dying, because again, their story is very obviously based off of Romeo and Juliet, which at the end of that story, both Romeo and Juliet ended up dying, so more than likely whenever a hero decides to kill one of them off, the other's going to die as well, and he already very heavily hinted towards that idea back when the two of them fought on Foressa. Anyway guys, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. I really do hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, drop me a like, subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate it, and comment down below your thoughts on the chapter. Anyway guys, that's it for the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.